This conference will now be recorded.
I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's budget meeting. This time I'd like to ask Mr. Campbell and Gill to lead us in invocation, and then I'll call it.
Father, thank you so much for the privilege of serving you and serving those of our county. Thank you for the place you've elected and chosen for us to live, such an awesome place. I pray that we might be faithful tonight, good stewards. Lord, give us wisdom and discernment that your will would be done. Thank you for the provision that we have a budget. And Father, I pray for the upcoming year that you'd make and meet that budget. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Martin, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Chairman, if I may, before we get into the budget, I just want to share with you that you do have information from the school system that they provided promptly this morning related to the capital outlay request that was before you last night. And also included is that in that information is excerpt from the manual that they followed. So you can have, so you can kind of see that it appears that the uses of those funds is allowable. So I know it's good to have that information. That's the first time I've seen that. That's good. But I don't, in the interest of time, if you all want, I know we have a special meeting scheduled for next Tuesday. If we could add that to the purpose of the meeting and take care of that at that meeting, and that way we'll get on with things if that's in agreement with you all.
Yes, sir.
I would motion that we add that to the next meeting.
Motion that, Mr. Wood,
I'll second.
I'll need a motion. Just add it.
Same on the agenda.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we'll get started with the budget. Just want to kind of hit some highlights, just kind of overview, big picture type purpose and that kind of thing. So the purpose of the budget, as you all know, is to serve as a financial plan. It's the board's policy document and it's an operations guide for the county. The budget has been developed in a manner consistent with the county's mission of providing customer-focused county services efficiently and responsibly. The guiding principles that we had to use were first to develop a budget in accordance with the Local Government Budget and Fiscal Control Act, as we do each year, to provide funding for core services that address the needs of our residents and citizens, public safety, education, and general services, as you know, are the large ones, and then also to develop a spending plan that supports priorities identified in the strategic. There are a number of factors influencing the budget this year. One is Medicaid expansion, and we'll talk about that. The second is compensation and employee benefits. The third is education. And the fourth is capital items and other one-time items we have budgeted. The general fund highlights: the proposed budget totals $54,994,146. It supports service levels while maintaining the tax rate of 78.5 cents. There is an appropriation of $2,284,850 from available fund balance for capital and one-time items. As far as revenue overview, the projected tax base is $3,359,720,019, which reflects a 2% increase. Largely, that's attributed to the. You remember we did a kind of a safety reserve type measure this past year because we weren't certain about appeals, and I think that was $51 million. And so, unfortunately, those appeals didn't reach that level by any means, and so we're fortunate about that. The tax collection rate is projected at 96.6%, which is a slight increase over this year. And I just want to again take the opportunity to commend the tax office, Renee and her leadership, and the staff for the great job they're doing in collecting current year taxes as well as prior year taxes. 1 penny is projected to generate approximately $323,063. We all know that it's expensive to house inmates, but also at the same time, the detention center is a revenue center for the county. You all know how much the county's benefited by the federal inmate program. The revenue that is anticipated and budgeted for next year is based on 75 inmates rather than 80. And again, we receive $75 per day. That's based on the, more in line with the number we've actually been experiencing this year on a daily basis. So that's, as you can see, over $2 million. The state misdemeanor program revenue, however, is increasing, so it compensates for that reduction on the federal program. So that works out really well. The misdemeanor program has benefited this past year by a new provision they have that if you pick up 500, if you spend 500 hours of litter pickup each month, then you get a $60 daily rate rather than the $40. That adds up. That's substantial. So it more than covers the cost of the person that helps to work with inmates and that type of thing. So we're benefiting from that tremendously. Also, the commissary commission and telephone commission, as you can see, are sizable revenue sources. So I certainly want to commend the sheriff and his staff for the great job they do in operating those programs. Ad valorem taxes, we try to, we want to be as transparent as we can be, and kind of show the method to the numbers that are included in the budget. So you can see we've broken down the real property value, personal property, motor vehicles, and public utilities. You can see the projected figures that we're using, the tax rate, and the collection rate. So the total is $25,477,481. And that's for current year property taxes. Sales tax, as you know, is another primary source of revenue for the county. The budget totals $7,521,982 and accounts for approximately 13.72% of general fund revenue. Article 44 is anticipated to generate approximately $1,215,630. We primarily use that toward education. I do want to remind you that that was the new sales tax that kicked in 4 or 5 years ago, or 5 or 6 years ago now, and it has really been positive. It's based on the when they began to charge sales tax on services. So, and it really helped. You may recall that they did arranged it in a way that it primarily helps rural counties, in particular. So we benefited a lot from that. Also, $1,882,013 in sales tax revenue is earmarked by statute for debt service and capital expenditures for the school system.
That was that, that 40 sales tax, was that included?
So, I'm sorry, the what?
40%.
No, ma'am, that didn't pass. Unfortunately, it didn't pass.
Again,
But we had it last November.
if we'd have gotten it, how much would it have been?
Over a half $500,000.
Right?
Well, I tell you what, just to speak to that, just to kind of give you a little bit more specific number. The Article 44, well, let me back up. That wouldn't be a good, but it would definitely be over $500,000. This pie chart shows revenues by source. You can see property taxes is the largest single source. However, a number of years ago, it hasn't been that long ago, that it was about 53% of the total pie there, whereas now it's more like, what, 47%. So that's a smaller portion. And sales tax used to be over 15%. Now, as you saw, it's 13%. So other programs like the detention center revenue and some of these other revenue sources help to provide important revenue fund services. We also have a fund balance appropriation. You can see the amount there for general capital needs, just over $1.9 million. A loan to the solid waste fund of $200,000. We also have health reserve money in the amount of $105,000 that's budgeted, and then facilities fees money in the amount of $51,500. One of the, seems like it's a subtle matter, but it has a significant, seems to have for recent years anyway, since 2009 or 2010, when the retirement system contribution began to increase each year and is now scheduled to continue through 2027. It's having more and more of a bite in the county's budget. So as you can see, there's a scheduled increase again this coming year, from 12.15% to 12.9% for general employees, and from 13.04% to 14.04% for law enforcement officers. You can see automatic steps, and fortunately, the state health plan, we're projecting to decrease just because they decreased the rates this past year. As far as just a general overview of expenditures, the budget appropriates additional funding to support employee compensation and benefits. There is increased funding for public safety related to juvenile detention and inmate meals. You know about inmate meals. I do want to share with you that we're seeing a larger monthly bill for juvenile detention costs. They also are increasing the rate. So you remember it was like $65 per day until a couple of years ago, and it went to $135. Well, now it's moving up this in July to $150 per day. And we're having, because they've raised the age to 18, now we're having more. I mean, we went for a long time with having zero inmates, juveniles incarcerated that we were paying for. So I think we signed the one today, it was almost 12,000. 6,200, okay, 6,200. But anyway, so we've increased the appropriation for that. Also, the budget provides additional funding for public schools and the community college, and it includes funding for additional positions related to Medicaid expansion, which is supposed to be paid 100% by non-county funds for the first 2 years. We have included in a contingency line item funding that would equal 3% COLA. I know there hasn't been discussion about how you all want to address employee compensation this year, but I do want to let you know that that money is available and can be appropriated as you all see fit. And it just kind of breaks it down with the reduction for the DSS offsetting revenue and for the amounts paid by the solid waste fund and the water fund. You all have seen these requests related to additional personnel. So the left column is the requested amount, the right column is the proposed amount, as it states here. The only full-time position, just as far as an overview, the only full-time positions included in the budget are related to DSS. 7 of those are related to Medicaid expansion. 1 is a required Child Protective Services position based on the requirements for staffing or oversight rate, the ratio for oversight. So those are 8 positions that are full-time positions. Only 1 should have county money for the upcoming year. But you can see part-time positions at animal shelter, and there are also a number of reclassifications. Yes, sir, Mr. Bishop.
I want to have a conversation with the board about that administrative support spaces for Parks and Recreation. I think that Morgan and Clint and Grant should be programmers and not sitting there answering the phone or filling out registrations. We put so much money in that park. It is time for us to have recreation for adults and teenagers and stuff. And I would love to see that position and hold recreation accountable for more programs this coming year.
I agree.
We put so much money in there, people. We need to utilize it.
Spoke with Grant myself personally about that. If he asking for something, he needs to show us a little bit of improvement in what he's doing, because he has no adult program. And
the adults are asking for it, Mark.
I know it, but we need it. But he ain't gonna be able to do it without having somebody out there.
We got to get those 3 out of office because they have to work evenings and nights and everything else, and I don't know how they manage their schedule to tell you the truth. But they have to have someone at the recreation department all the time.
I understand that very well, and we are actually working on an alternate solution that would use existing staff in the county, and so we're exploring that and hope to have more to.
So, Mr. Martin, I don't know what your plan is, but it's got to be a full time. It can't be no part time person over there, as far as I'm concerned. My thoughts, because you never know when the phone's going to ring. If you increase the sports out there, someone's gonna be there. That person might could sit there and do some other responsibilities, but they need to be there.
The registration alone, registration and the inquiring about the program alone requires full-time. I mean, because you got, and then if they're scheduling ball fields for practice, that's a constant, cost. So you need somebody full-time.
They requested that salary. They requested that salary. I know the position was requested. Where did the salary figure come from?
Yes, of course, that's what they requested. Is that right?
I mean, I would imagine, more, I would imagine for that, you're gonna find somebody pretty good.
The registration is online.
I mean, but even the registration for the
That includes benefits.
field should be automatic. Why ain't automatic like
You
stuff?
can't do it.
Right.
That's not, it'll be a disaster letting a computer do what they do up there. You have no idea what they do. They got, what, 4 fields out there? They got 10 teams trying to compete for 4 fields. It's a,
Well, you probably need one person to do that, but I don't think it's full-time person to do that. If they have automation.
you need to go up there and sit
I
up
mean,
there.
doctors do it, they do hospitals, they do OR rooms, and they do it with people. So, I mean, I don't know if they need a full-time person, but okay.
I sit up there with them sometime and I'll see what they go through.
Right, they ain't no need in us keep putting money out there and just keep doing the same old thing we're doing, people.
If Morgan works her program, then she's got to take contact. So that leaves them just 2 people in there. So one's gonna be at the park by herself and the other's gonna be at the office, answer the phone. When you can have 3 people out at the park working together and one person answers the phone. All the time, it'd always be 2 people out there if they're taking contact.
I think we need to try it and put some accountability on there, what we want out of recreation next year. I'm okay with that. I'm trying it.
Mr. Chairman, are we in a position to have athletic conference championships here? Are we in a position for that?
Can't be.
We need to look into that too. That's
Hosting
Yeah,
tournaments.
he's got 3 coming, I think, on the mark.
Yeah, he's got 3 softball tournaments coming, in the near future that will bring in revenue to the county.
Yeah,
All over the county.
baseball,
Yeah.
because I know they had one a year or so ago right there in Lumberton. Right there.
Yeah, you're right, the World
So
Series.
Arthur,
They had a this year.
Arthur, my thought is that we as commissioners kind of give them a roadmap of what we kind of like to see and then
Yeah.
then just take off and go with it.
I like to see championships.
But nothing has changed hardly in years, and we put all this money out there.
The newest thing they got up there is, youth volleyball. They've had adult volleyball for a while. They got youth volleyball up there now. And it's turned out to be a pretty good program.
Whenever the time comes, I'll make that motion to add that. I don't know if we're gonna do it tonight or later on, how you gonna do it?
Request, that personnel,
How y'all wanna handle that?
Can we make a decision?
someone get idea.
What are they gonna do, like,
May not.
let them bring
Can we
something,
make a
to-
decision?
bring something to the board.
I just brought something to the
You did,
board.
but how are they going to do it? You going for the person, I got it, ask them the program, what are they going to do? You ask everybody.
Mark tried to explain to you.
He did?
It's not our place to go out there and micromanage. We just give them the personnel and tell them what we want.
I don't feel like
We,
they're no
the
full-time
programs you have, the programs you have is basic from 5 years old, 14 years old. That's between girls softball and boys, Dixie boys baseball.
person. Uh-huh.
And that's it. And he has that one adult volleyball program. He has nothing for seniors. He has nothing, like softball, men's softball used to be the hugest thing around.
Yeah.
And they go out there and they have big tournaments and play all, and it was fun to watch.
I played and sponsored as long as we had programs.
Got it.
I played and it wasn't old enough and I got kicked out.
It's for Elizabethtown?
I mean,
It's for the county. It's at the
it's
county.
an economic tool if we use it, people.
Elizabethtown holds everything on the house for it. We do it at the house.
Taxes and everything else.
Anybody in the county that wants to participate in the program they can go out there and participate in the program. I mean, even though you can invite people in from other counties to play, because they do that all the time. Right now, Robinson County's got a big softball league over there, and people from Bladen go over there and play.
Mm-hmm. My grandson plays
Go
in
over
Robinson
and
County. Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
You got on here 3% COLA. I think it should be a little higher than that. And, COLA is more or less like a recruitment and a retention thing. Because a lot of times in Bladen County, people, they look for other positions because of the salary that we give them. So we need to look at giving them a higher salary. I don't know what's legal or what, in that. But I can just talk about myself. I was working for the state, and I was making $6,000 a year. Social Security came in and offered me $8,500. I said, when you want to go to work? Because of the salary amount. So that 3%, that don't look that good to me. I mean, I think we should be higher. That's the end of the story.
I'll add into yours. I want to see what the towns are going to do and what these other counties are going to do. So just make sure that before we decide. But that's what I'd like to see.
Because it's a retention thing. If you pay them right, they'll stay here. Now, especially EMS, they have problems recruiting. They can put the announcement out there, but a lot of them are not filled.
I think we're in a unique situation. Cost of living increase, you can't keep up. The cost of living is going so quickly.
I was going to add, the private sector is not growing like this, and we can argue about it. I'm not going to argue about it, but the private sector stuff is not growing with COLA like government and other states. It's just not doing it, period. So I've got a delicacy to it. I don't mind a certain percent, but I think it's irresponsible to keep every year, and I know there was a year or two, but, we got to be careful with it too, to make sure, it's an ongoing thing. Once you get there, you can't go back. And I know it's retention. I get all that. Things are having retention problems no matter what you're paying. I mean, I was talking to Dr. Duncan about that a minute ago. I read a big article before I came. So there's that can't be your only scapegoat. And I'm not saying that you're saying that, but retention has a lot of multifactorial things other than just, I get $1,000 more over there, so I can go down there. I mean, there's a lot of complexity to it. I just think we need to be mindful of it. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know many mom and pop, personally owned businesses that net what the state retirement fund is, 14%. I'd like to net 14% in my store. Let's just put it in a retirement fund. And I'm not saying I'm happy if everybody gets it, but most of us in the private sector don't net 14%. Let's put 14% in and then start.
I'm not saying don't be generous.
No.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying that's the reason I want to see what the police departments are paying and what these other counties are paying, what their increase is going to be, so we can be competitive. That's what I was trying to say.
I know. I understand. And I'm not saying don't be generous. I'm just saying I don't want to be so outlandish that it's just almost people are, I mean, not generous, but I mean, I think anytime you do 5, 7, 10, I wouldn't call that lack of generosity from a governing board. I think
like 1% is like $250,000.
Yes, sir.
1% is $250,000. Roughly.
Anyway,
Okay.
That includes the taxes too, doesn't it?
Yeah, that includes all.
Yes, sir. Benefits.
I did about $3.
Yeah, a little less than 200,000.
Oh, I also want to tell you, you all know at Bart's, we have a new supervisor or coordinator, since Mr. Porter retired about a year ago. That assistant position has been vacant ever since. So one of the reclassifications we proposed is to eliminate that position and then to provide a little bit more incentive for the person who's moved into that role to, and then that way it creates an efficiency. So that's one.
So you can get the leader now more money.
Yes, sir. That's the proposal.
And then
Mark,
are you just telling us ones that you're going to propose?
On the right, there are ones on the right, anything on the right column. Yes, sir.
So is that
And
person?
another is, with Pete, you remember one of the things that Mr. Nathan Dallas was talking about before he left was how the responsibility or the requirements associated with the PSAP, the Public Safety Answering Point, the 911 Center, are increasing so much. And we've had the sheriff and Jeff, we've had meetings or whatever about that. So one of the things we're doing is creating a court or placing the responsibility of the PSAP coordinator on the assistant in the emergency services office, and then Mr. Jeff Singletary is assisting with those responsibilities as well. So it really takes a team effort because it needs to have good coordination between people who are in that office as well as the ones who communicate directly with the 911 board.
So are we increasing the duties for that person you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
As far as, I think we're
That's a question though. So these responsibilities are going to Jeff and then to the assistant. And
well,
then
I think,
the new-
I'm thinking right in this.
and when the new person come in, that's the part that the responsibility will be removed. Just taken out of the director.
Well, what has happened is the requirements have ramped up so much. 911 board used to be they only used to have a minimal number of staff members for the state. Well, now they've ramped up their staffing. They do these regular audits of our 911 center, and we have one coming in a year. And we've already been having multiple meetings about how to have another one scheduled for a week or two. So,
Requirement.
yeah, the requirements. So that's what we have to be. We have to be on top of that stuff more than ever. And the way that they're scrutinizing the use of the funds. So we need to be in good shape so that we're maximizing our revenues to cover the expenses.
But that still will be under the new director.
It will. Yeah, because that's right. She's the assistant in that office.
Yep.
It's just kind of formalizing her responsibilities. All right, we have, as I mentioned, there are a number of capital and one-time non-inventoriable type items. You've seen all the requests in the previous meeting. As you can see, the bulk of them are not everything by any means, but the bulk, I would say, are in the proposed budget.
But is that, we're gonna get the power company that helps with the LED bulb build lights?
That's the plan. It's a preferred vendor through Duke Energy.
Limelight.
Limewire. No, Lime, just
Oh,
call Lime.
I haven't yet. Yep, no, I don't know the name. I don't know that I've seen it.
That's the name of the program that the power company got. They have contractors that go out and do the pool.
That's right, yeah.
When they put in my lights in the store, it was cable.
And to tell you, that's what is it, 45,000? 48,000. The way we understand it, there's a 5-year payback period. So basically we should save about, 20% of that each year.
So where's he going? Out there at Kipsong?
This program? No, in a number of buildings.
Oh, I didn't know you got it. It don't say. It says convert lights to LED and
Well,
buildings.
because that would be in his, the fund, that would all be in his department, central services.
Okay.
Oh, let me also admit, thank you. The request you see for generators for the health department, additional measures, and health department animal control. I don't even see it.
I see it.
Under central
Central
service.
services, okay, I see it. Dr. Duncan has identified funding in this year's budget to do that, so we're going ahead and proceeding with Kit's working on the purchase of those generators, which will reduce this, we won't need it. Well, that's why it's not funded, as you can see, for next year, so it's not that we're not planning to do that project, or those two generators, is that we have an alternate source of funding.
What metal doors are they replacing at the library?
The metal doors,
And I said library replacement of entry doors.
I guess it's the entry doors. I was thinking the window project is gonna do a good portion of, I don't know the doors, and they probably need the doors to match the new windows, if it doesn't include that.
Did they ever get the bathroom fixed down there?
I haven't heard anything. I think I would have.
Don't have a shower curtains for doors. Do they have that? You still have that down there?
I think if there was a concern, I think we would have heard about it.
That's been 10 years ago. I had my,
Yeah. And I had an email, I was emailing back and forth with it today about something. I hadn't heard about it, but we'll check on it.
So we're gonna start repairing our own lights, look like. Got a toe behind on here.
Where are you looking at?
The last item on the central services.
Well, that's what they'd like to do. Rather than, having to contract that out.
Got insurance to cover them anyway. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
We on the EMS yet? He's talking
I
about.
just went to the screen.
Okay.
I'm sure where you are. Yes, ma'am.
I thought he talked about, was he talking about getting some type of ambulance or something from someplace else?
A refurbish.
Right,
And you all already approved that.
put it right. And then he still wants two more.
Because they're gonna be so far out. You remember that one was gonna be
Yeah.
2025.
Yeah, about 5 years. Got it. Okay, thanks.
And once we requested it, that price is fixed in for that time frame.
Yes, sir. And just to remind you on the, 235, the ambulance is 235,000. Some of you may recall, 2 or 3 years ago, this is when we were during COVID, we were in the court. The board approved 2 ambulances identical to that for $147,000 each. Now they're 235 each. This is the one that's 235.
He requested the proposal. Oh, 135, right.
And Greg, just so they're aware, the two that they approved, that were 147, they haven't been delivered, scheduled delivery date's May of 2025. For those two. Jeez. So what we ordered this year, 24 to 36.
Or you have to wait to get this one another year. Or this one year.
Health Department Animal Control, just remind you, they have that fund balance, they have the vehicle fund, that's the funding source for those,
So the vision of aging in-home, everybody don't some drive their personal car?
they have, yes.
So is that cheaper than buying vehicles? Have we looked at it?
No more than they drive, it probably is, but we can look at it.
Yeah, I mean,
And we got the first, that was another one.
well, you didn't have that, you didn't move that over. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah. Just because we were thinking that, continuing to pay mileage would be, maybe a better option at this point, but we can look at it.
I'd go back on parking and recreation. I don't have no problem doing some upgrades out there. But they need to clean them facilities. It's nice the parking we got, the bathrooms are awful last time I was out there.
That time I talked to you, you talked to me.
It's been a while, I ain't been.
You called me 2
I ain't
months
been,
ago.
it might have been last.
Whenever you had an experience out there.
Yeah, okay. I'll be going back soon, but I want to make that point. I don't mind doing that, but, somehow or another we got to get it clean. Because a lot of people go in there. It's hard to keep bathroom anyway clean and
You tell me.
odorless and
Who
everything.
clean them? Who clean them? They have staff clean them?
I think, Central might look there.
Part of it is too, the material in that restroom, you're talking about in the old concession stand or no? I mean,
Well, the old one was worse, but
yeah, I know he has a proposal to try to improve that one just to keep this, it'll seem more cleaner than
Figure out how to tear it up.
East Bladen there.
You can have marble floors.
It's so nasty and half the stuff doesn't work.
Gag maggot.
They literally locked the girls' room a couple of weeks ago and told the girls just to use the boys' room. Didn't tell the boys, and I was in one stall, the girl was in the next one. And that's sorry, y'all need, that's what they tell instead of fixing the problem.
The preacher was gonna.
Yeah, boy, yeah, boy.
Glad he was a preacher.
I don't know about that, but, so sometimes it's not just the age of the building.
Yeah.
People's gotta do better.
They do.
We do have funding. We have an older bookmobile from probably the late nineties, mid to late nineties. But it's being used big time. And,
Yeah, I mean, it really is. He's going to all these charter schools, public schools, private schools, church schools. I mean, wherever.
Yeah, any kind of function.
Yeah.
I know that's a lot of money, but it'll be well
Going
used.
strong, but it sounded mighty bad over there when it come by me.
And I don't know if you all noticed the sign, I don't know that it's lit. I don't know the electricity system yet. but the new sign-
I just noticed it when I turned in, right?
Yeah, I've got text comments on that.
That looks good. New sign for public library.
It's a small size.
Yeah, but it looks good though. It
Yeah.
catches your eye because the purple is kind of draws you to it.
And then, toward the end of this page begins the community college capital, projects.
Are we ever gonna get that ADA compliance? I swear we've been fixing ever since I've been here. That's a long time.
Yeah, you're right about that.
And just to mention to you, well, you'll see that in a minute, but the facility master plan, that's one of the one-time items. It's $30,000 anyway. There's two items, $75,000 that they requested in their current expense fund, and we're proposing to pay through the capital and one-time items, and that's the $30,000 for the master plan.
So, Mr. Martin,
$45,000 for the vehicle.
was that, the interior lighting for an exterior lighting at the library, would that pay for itself eventually?
What she's requesting there are new fixtures.
Nothing's been done down
And
there.
at some point, I hope we can do it at some point. It's just we getting a lot. Here at the library here, past couple of years.
So, the office floor and building to the college, I thought that, has that not been done? We're doing something.
Place to come and hear your office floors.
Can't remember what building's with.
Now, I will say there are also a number of projects from this year's budget, and I think they're wrapping up some a project or two that was funded last year. So they do have some rollover. There's some rollover money that we'll be asking you to approve the budget to roll that over as well.
And 4 or 5 of these projects are continuations.
Ask your question back on, go back one time. For the health, it's talking about SUV too, then say environmental health SUV. Who those for?
The SUVs would be for the health department, I guess for I don't know if that's CAP or,
It's for the health department, health nurses, the health, case management, immunizations.
Environmental health is the other one, then DFS. Yeah.
what kind of vehicle is that DSS? Oh, the one they bought, the SUV, they're calling it SUV, but it's not
Okay.
Escape, yeah. They're calling it SUV, it's a Ford Escape is what, for instance, the SUV. Yeah. It's an SUV, yeah, but it's not like a big, small.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
small.
Not like a top.
Right, that's right.
Like for health education, you can't put some of the equipment in just a regular little car, you've got to be.
So environmental are the ones, I thought they were getting a truck. Might get a truck.
Yeah, that was,
Field inspection.
Oh, they get it,
They got a
okay,
truck, yeah.
okay. I replace it all the time. 3 years. What happens to them when they, after 3 years? I know they've been passing those to Morris and somebody else in the department, but eventually what happens?
Eventually, we sell them at auction, or, they don't usually have a lot of value by the time.
I know,
Mr. Chairman, whenever you, I'm glad to answer you. I'm not trying to prolong, but to let me know whenever you're ready.
It says that, so hold on a minute, BCC,
Yes.
the replacement of the bridge, remaining bridge.
We done part of it already.
Okay, we done part of it, so, okay. That'll work.
How many years? We used to do every 10 years before we evaluate.
8. By statute, it's 8.
Oh.
No more than 8. This past time was 7 because our indicators were not in compliance with their
That's right.
recommendations.
And now we would be.
4. Well, they're, 4. Let me, you ready to talk about, any other questions about capital items? Ms. Renee Davis received a letter from the Department of Revenue a week or so ago, related to the data. Each year, the Department of Revenue does a sales assessment ratio on properties that sold in the county, and they cull them, or they call it trim. They trim the data set, and I'm not sure if they exclude the low and high. I don't know. They trim it somehow or another. Anyway, and they look at the value of those sales in relation to the assessed value from the January 1st date of that year. And that's a particular interest for counties that just had, revaluation that year. Well, when they looked at the sales, that data set, the value of the assessment was 84.45% of the sales value. So that shows you how quickly prices are rising. And they have the list, and we saw it, they have the list of other counties that had revaluation in 2022 as well. We were by no means the lowest. So just about all of them. It just shows you the trend of real estate this past year. So we don't meet, so the standard is pretty much 90%. So we fall below that on the sales assessment ratio. They also look at the COD, which is the coefficient of dispersion, and that means like you have properties that sell way higher than the assessed value, or you have others that may sell significantly lower, so you have a wide COD. They don't like that to be higher than 20%, I think that's right, and ours was 25 or so. So anyway, we kind of fall below the markers on both of those now, and so when that happens, they like for you to have revaluation with 3 years of when they give you notice about that. So for us, that would be 2026 rather than
Have another one done?
Yes.
Rather than $20,000.
Well, and I don't know if there'll be an opportunity, but we can explore other options, like maybe a desk type of, since they just went out and took all the pictures, we can explore other arrangements for having the actual work done, but to see if there's something to be more cost effective. But
But it could change again next year.
that's what I started saying. So let me tell you this. So what that tells you is, and they look at this, our effective tax rate is basically 66 cents, between 66 and 67 cents, because our assessed value is basically 84% of the market for this past year. But just like you say, that can change, by the time 2026 gets here, depending on what the real estate market's doing, that could be different. But as you all know, you have to start making.
Still have to do it.
Well, it's the recommendation. It's not there's no statute that mandates it. But the issue is, if you have your numbers that are that far off of where you'd like for them to be, then you have people paying a higher share of the burden, and you have people paying a lower share of the burden.
You get that data again next year?
Each year.
Okay, you'll get it again next year. Yeah.
The thing is, you have to start making arrangements to get rolling on it. 2
years.
Yeah.
You mean with an agency?
Yes. So let me just say what we've, therefore done just in it. I don't know what you all will ultimately do, but how to move forward, but because of that information, we have increased our, amount that we set aside in the revaluation account or fund or whatever from $75,000 to $175,000, just to.
So, are you saying we getting 84.45% of what the value is?
Yeah.
That's what the assessed value was as.
Did that thing, it should be closer than that.
No, the sales were taken, you would think that, that's exactly right, but
Well, that's what I was thinking.
I would too, exactly. But that's not the case, and it wasn't the case for the other counties that just had revaluation.
This is Blaine County, ain't it? What's the
Most
other
counties.
What's the other county got to do with it?
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah, we'll get you the, I think we got some.
Other county got to do with it.
Okay, because of the market,
You know,
shift so much last year.
Exactly.
Y'all pay for it.
And now though, if they see because of the interest rates went up, so people are not qualifying, so now it's probably.
They're selling it for more than that.
You have inflation, you all.
So we're losing 15%.
Great. Dumb quick. Houses are selling for more than tax value, not less than tax.
More.
And that's where I can see us having a real problem.
Mm-hmm.
But what are they saying then?
What?
Answer is, but what is that?
They're selling more for, they're selling way
Our
more.
assessment ratio is 84% of the market. The assessed value is 84% of, for that data set of properties, of what those properties actually sold for this past year.
They want a 90+%.
Yes.
Well, and I don't guess it. So we're selling our house. We close next Tuesday, and we're selling it for twice tax value.
See, that's, I didn't know that. That's hard to
Why
believe.
There, yeah, that's another.
What's that again? Say it again.
We're selling our house that closed next Tuesday for twice.
It's gonna increase your tax.
And that's the thing, I mean, that's our tax, that would be our tax value ordinarily for the next 6.5 years.
It's gonna take a whole lot of other sales to offset that one.
You can have mine tomorrow. Tax value.
And the lakes in Blaine County, they're,
It's a
unique.
whole nother-
I mean, you know, that's not, that wouldn't be the average, obviously, around the county, but the market overall has really been on the uptick. And Renee's gonna talk with you more about that very soon. This chart shows, human services agents, the departments within the human services agency. You can just see the various sources of funding for those departments in total.
Health, I think. Mental health.
Well, no, that's just our county, contribution, I mean, it's $1 trillion.
So that.
Which is a fraction, I mean, they're a huge. That's crazy. Medicaid is, funding the bulk of their services. And then you all have heard a lot about Medicaid expansion, and that is understood that that's likely to become effective this upcoming fiscal year. And just to let you know, we were just on a webinar yesterday, with the state, and the intent is that they're going to provide some upfront funding beginning by the end of this month for the remaining months of this year, and then to help get things going, and then they're going to provide basically or cover the cost of the Medicaid expansion for at least the next couple of years. So that's a positive thing. However, on the other side, it seems like the percentage of the county's match is shifting to increase on other positions. So
So they're gonna cover the personnel?
Greg.
For 2 years?
Greg,
at least, I mean, that's our understanding. At least maybe more, maybe longer.
So that's changed, right?
let us do the first 2 years, and then they do it, cause you ain't gonna find employees. In 2 years is when it's really gonna hit us. You ain't gonna find the people to fill all these slots. The
I
state's
thought we couldn't do it with what we have. the personnel. I thought.
Well, they're looking, they kind of have an estimated caseload level that they know, that they're understanding. And I don't know if let me give an example. Lisa, what was it yesterday? For example, for certain benefits, I think this is full healthcare Medicaid. It's going from something was going from 8,000 to 34,000. So it's increasing. I mean, that's the kind of increase of folks who are going to be eligible for different programs. And I'm thinking they must be, we talked about it, they must be using,
You talking about salary?
well, income.
Income, yeah, that's
So
what I
they
meant,
must be
right.
using the state Department of Revenue's income tax data or whatever to kind of have a sense of who actually falls in those
No, the county we're supposed to get like 3,000 plus, right?
2,600.
Okay.
Yeah, plus 3,000.
Since they've shut down all these gimmies and people are not getting what they were getting, is that gonna help any at all?
It's going to help people who fall in that.
And I'm talking about the
Help.
workforce, I'm not talking
I
about,
don't know about that. You mean people going back to work, needing to go back to work?
I'm talking about our workforce. Is it gonna free them up to do other things?
Well,
Because supposedly a lot of people lost it.
One of there have been, but one of the things it's also doing is going back to requiring the qualification or whatever the word is from DSS staff to be sure that people are. There had been a pause on some of that stuff, and so recertification is the word. That's right. Thank you. So there's pros. It's like everything. There's pros and cons associated with it. Bladen County Schools, you've all seen this information. This year, just to kind of give you a reminder, this year's appropriation for current expense is $7,831,658. The request for next year is $9,036,141. The proposal is $8,014,619 for current expense. That's about a 2.34%.
What are you funding, or what are you proposed funding, or what are you not proposed funding?
I'm really not proposing, I don't really earmark it because we really can't bind them to it necessarily.
So why's the increase then?
Because I just know how all kinds of
The school
things.
system got $36 million ARPA funds. $36 million. Have $15 million sitting in the bank, wherever it's at. I mean, I'm just saying that to say that maybe they could help themselves and we could do a little more down the road or something. I mean, that's.
And one of the thoughts, Mr. Peterson, just to remind you, is this is the way that the charter schools receive any increases through our appropriations to public schools. So, I mean, there's all kinds of factors to take into account.
What percent you said? It's like 2.3%?
2.34. The sales tax, and just to remind you, the appropriation this year was a 15% with the deputy. Remember, it was 10%, then you all approved the deputies. That basically was a 15% increase in the county's cost for education this year. So I feel like the board is definitely made a good faith effort in.
That's what failed in the.
Yeah,
That was provided. God, it's hard to believe. I'm like you. Thank God.
What is the difference in the $200,000 in community college? You don't know where it's at either, what you're not proposing to fund?
I know where they've identified that,
That gonna be
those costs are. It's in our,
in the first handout?
I don't know that it goes into that detail. It's probably in your budget. It's in the,
It was in the requested budget.
which isn't in there. But I can tell you, we met with them and went over it line item by line item.
I was just wondering what weren't being funded or what.
And Mr. Britt can help speak to this. The one thing about a number of those items at the community college, they already have entered into contracts for various services and that type thing. So, and actually 2 of the positions are already filled. So, they pretty well, and again, we didn't fund the full request, but there were a number of items that we saw through them explaining it line item by line item, that it appears that they have obligations that need to be funded. I want to just speak briefly about the sales tax I mentioned earlier that this amount of $1,882,000 is the amount reserved by state statute for school capital. Reminds me of another point. I'm not positive if it's been approved, but it likely will be with the state budget, that counties will be able to have the authority to fund capital for charter schools. So that's just, let's keep that in mind. Just
Mr. Martin, I'm not gonna bring that up, but my concern is, and I'm not on the school board, and I'm not trying to tell them what to do. But if that passes, when is Bladen County Schools gonna look at doing something with all these schools? Cause I know we can't afford to keep them up if we got to do that. I mean, we got schools with 65 kids in them.
About 3 less than 100.
One other, I'm not trying to sound whatever, but just one other factor for us all to keep in mind that it kind of ties into that. I forgot the name of it, but it's basically the appropriation that the state government makes to private schools for individuals. That amount that is being earmarked is increasing tremendously. So when we just went on a tour of ECA, Elizabethtown Christian Academy, back a couple of months ago, they indicated that they have, I think it was 54 students this year who are benefiting from that state allocation. When that amount increases, we're not only going to have students in charter school, a lot of students in charter schools, we're going to have more and more students who have financial assistance from the state to attend private schools, which is just going to reduce the numbers from public schools.
So, and that's what I want to ask is, do you and Rodney and Lisa or somebody need to sit down with the school board and just see where their plans are for the future, and let them know that if this goes, then it's going to put a strain on us people. I mean, I think it's time to have somebody have that conversation. I'm not volunteering to go though, but I'm just saying, I think someone needs to have that sit down conversation and just.
What expenditure are you talking about that's gonna hit us the most?
If they pass that thing, they're gonna have to split their money with charter schools. Yeah. They're gonna have to give them some of their fund balance or all kind of
Charter schools will come,
We'll have to maintain it.
request the county.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about all that, but I know that they'll have right now, legally, the county couldn't provide funding for capital needs at the charter schools. If that changes, then they could come ask you and,
And what I'm saying is, I think it's time to someone needs to have a conversation to see where as a county and a school system, how we can work together in the future, and if there's anything what needs to be done, or start planning on it. Because if that passes, it's gonna come effect soon.
For one thing, and Greg, you may know the answer to some of this, because I asked it at the college one night in one of our board meetings. It just hit me one day. And I wanted to know the true numbers of the cost of a child going to BCC. And hear me out before you say, are you crazy? Each student is between $10,000 and $11,000 to the school. And you know what we give at the college, to the college. I just throw this out. I said, could somebody tell me what it costs? And I said, then if you're from Bladen County, if we agreed countywide to pay for any student that wanted to go to DCC, it costs $3,000. And the money that we give you, when you get $11,000 for the $3,000 that we pay, you offset what we give you to increase your enrollment and incentive for students in Bladen County to go to our college. Of course, I haven't seen those numbers yet, but that's been a few months now. But to me, that's pretty. We can pay $3,000 to help get $11,000, but credit us back some way or another if it can be done. Because I don't know if it can be done.
and I don't know all the details about it.
That's what I wanted them to work on.
That's a good question. My first thought on that, and Lisa can make, speak to it too. My first thought is those funds, the state funds are earmarked for a specific purpose, largely the staff costs.
Certain departments do that, right? Like EMS, if they wanted to, certain departments within counties do that, right? Like pay.
No, free.
Well, he said pay.
What's that?
You fund the student. We
fund it.
Well, they're
It'd be free to them.
It's free to them.
Okay, right, I got, well, I'm just saying it the other way around.
But whereas the county dollars are more for the, like, the maintenance cost and, you know, janitorial staff and custodian, all that type of stuff.
But let's see, like in Georgia, they do it, some counties do it, the state of Georgia does it. If you maintain a certain average.
Yeah, that's right, yeah, they got a good right.
But, I mean, there's ways that we work around it. It was worth checking.
That's a good.
I'll swap 3,000 for 11,000 every day of the week. But I just encourage somebody to work on that to see how we could help the college by the enrollment, help the students that can't afford to go, that would like to go. But the big thing, maintain and keep them, I know parents would look at that money hard.
I just want to review the kind of how we're laying out the sales tax money funding. We'll kind of start with the second line item. You remember we had reserved 900 on the 13.
Page 13.
Yeah, I see it right in front of me, I'm sorry.
You remember, first of all, that $900,000 is the amount we had been reserving for a future project. That's the old amount of sales tax money that was paid toward the bond payment for the two high schools. So you know that we have now financed the county's portion, or a portion of our share, $4.5 million out of the, $7. That cost for 10 years, this year is $592,114, which is that second line there. It's level principal and declining interest, so that amount will go down incrementally over the next 9 years. So the difference between the 592 and the 900 is the top number there, the 307. So we are reserving that for a future project.
That's the school year.
That's right. And then we do have the $103,000 for the qualified school construction fund. That was from a project about 12 years ago. And capital needs, so just the money that you all were asked to appropriate last night is coming from the account that we are appropriating $600,000 for next year. And they have a good portion, or a good amount of money already reserved in that account, which is a good thing, almost $2 million. So that's $600,000. We also are reserving $278,000. Rather than appropriating $878,000, we're reserving $278,000, and that can be, you all can tweak that however you want to, for a future project. So that would be the 278 and the 307 would be going into an account to be used for some future.
There's $585,000 on hold.
There's yeah, in the upcoming year's budget. And they have right at $2 million right now that is in that account, in their account, or it's in our account to be
I know they got 15 million from them.
used for them. And that's what they were asking for the 400 something last night. So fortunately, there are some.
Well, they use their reserve for that money that they asked for last night.
I guess they're using some of their, I don't know if it's their current expense funds or what, but, because they pay it up front and then we reimburse. So anyway, if that is all subject to tweaking or changing however you want to, I just wanted to try to explain our thought there.
So Greg,
Yes, sir.
which money can they do whatever they want to on there?
600.
What's up, it's capital?
Well, it is. It's earmarked. It's the sales tax earmarked for capital. Capital including all the things on this sheet that we handed out, other things.
And that $1.9 million that they've got.
And the $1.9 million is still there, but we already know they have 400,000 to get to $1.4 million, or almost $1.6 million.
So we're gonna give them, $6 million. What are they gonna spend $6 million?
Now, where are you getting that?
Take 1.9 from, 8.014?
Now, the $8 million is,
That's
that's our
mandatory.
expense, sales tax is $1,882,000, that's two different
And
funds.
that's what I said. So what are they gonna do with that $6 million? You take the total taxes away from the proposed number, you get $6 million.
Okay, the proposed number is, the 8,014,000 is current expense.
So that's eight, is that 8 or 6? You don't take away, it's 8.
Just for current expense. In addition to that, we're gonna appropriate 600,000 for capital. No, you don't have to. You can earmark it, I mean, you can save it for a future project or however you want to do. But we know they need a certain amount of money to do maintenance, whatever.
That's right.
Yes, sir. But here's the thing. They have an account that they built up over recent years already of almost $2 million, so that's why.
That's out of sales tax.
Out of the portion that we have been giving them, because you remember, we've been reserving 900,000 to go, that's how we had the $2.5 million to pay in cash towards the
Why are we
Tornado
giving them
project.
$1 million increase?
We're not.
They requested 9 and we give them 8.
Okay, that's two different things. Those are two different pots of money. That's current expense. The sales tax, where it says sales tax appropriation, that's a totally separate amount of money from the.
He's just talking about the proposal over last year.
How much top line? Current
He's talking about he's talking about the proposal, the 2.3.
The 2.3%.
And how about their ARPA funds that you say are, I mean, is that disclosed public information, what's being done with it? I mean, that's what I'm saying, like, I mean,
They're giving them $1 million increase.
Oh, you actually give them 100,000, about 80,000.
80,000.
They requested 9 million and we giving them 8.
Right, but.
Right. But we're at 7,831,000 this year.
7.8 last year.
This one on what they requested?
if they're not getting what they're
Oh,
doing.
okay. Thank you, Ray.
That's all right.
200,000.
And then the 1 million, just to clarify, the 1,882,000, that is the portion of the
Yeah,
sales tax, okay, that's reserved for the school.
Yeah,
So it's
I know.
not like we can
Yeah.
use it for any other purpose. Anything else on that? All right, and then the community college, just to kind of reiterate the current expense, this year's appropriation is 1,177,000. They requested 1,457,000. Our proposal is 1,274,000 plus 75, because remember I said there were two of those items in their current expense request were for one time or in a vehicle. So that's why on the second line there on the capital outlay request, the current year capital was 600,000. This year's requested amount in their CIP that they submitted back in the fall was 487. And you can see we're getting them, that's the 75. The reason it's higher is because it adds that 75 to it. The service agencies, other than the Forest Service, which did have an increase in the other ones, pretty much about the same.
Why does that continue to increase, Greg?
It's a cost share, and so as personnel costs, the vehicle, the truck is a great example. This year our share was 27,000. Next year is what, 34. So I mean, it's just increasing like cost.
Greg, since David's here, can we get an update on how his staffing is and why he needs these positions reclassified or whatever? I mean, that'd be interesting to know how it's going. How much money, is he making money, is he losing money? Is he overworked?
Yes. I can say with the new billing company we have, when you've seen an increase in billing revenue as compared to the previous billing company, but again, we still have a clear picture on bad debt. Because they were withholding for a year, I believe it was, trying to recoup as much as we could before we actually started billing it through. We have seen an increase in transports during the day, but because of call volume at night, we only run 4 trucks that belong to the county service. So we're still responsible for Bladen Borough's coverage area. So if they don't have coverage, we've got to pick up that responsibility. So it's put a real strain on us trying to answer transports coming out of the hospital to Cape Fear Valley, or transports going to New Hanover, or even discharges going home sometimes. Because we can't take the risk if they do not have coverage to send a truck out county and take us down to 3. So that's why we want to reclassify a couple positions, so we can go ahead and try to put them on the transport side, so we can make adjustments to cover those transports we're not able to handle, especially during shift changes, because our plan was to make a mid-shift truck.
So, yeah, so Greg's proposed all of it except the transport position. Is the other one's gonna help you? I mean, do you need that transport position or not? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we definitely can use it, because my plan initially was to take the reclassified admin position to basic and that transport basic position and make it mid-shift transport truck. That could handle doing transports out of the ER, but also provide backup coverage when Bladen doesn't have coverage.
How often is Bladen not having?
It's been hit and miss, to be honest, like this past weekend, Friday night, no coverage, Saturday, all day, no coverage. So Saturday, it left me with 4 trucks during the day on a Saturday. My concern is coming up late season.
their equipment is hit and miss.
Right. It is. And that's our concern. And I hate to say it like this, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it, the reliability of coverage. Here lately, the last couple of months, it's got to the point we get notices like that day we do not have coverage.
It's like I asked you, it's
Yeah.
how to let you indicate, well, sorry, we're just not be there.
Right. Initially, we were getting calendars with the coverages, and we continue to ask, but it's just got where now it's day by day.
Financially, are they holding on? I mean, they got to be, don't they? I mean,
I'm assuming.
Probably about
I
each hour.
don't.
But if
Probably.
they're not running calls, they're not getting any income.
Yeah, I know, that's true, yeah, and that's probably.
My concern overall is it comes to the point, and I hate to say like E-Town, but in a sense, to where it gets to the point, it comes one day, okay, we're gonna close the 3 months because we don't have the funding.
Who does their billing?
EMS Management Consultants, our old billing company.
Okay, it is.
And they're still getting charged the 10% collection rate.
That's what I was trying to ask too. How about the one you have now?
What is it, 5.79?
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Where when we were under contract with EMS Management, it was 8%. So that's why we were seeking new billing company.
are the big trucks holding up pretty good? I mean,
As far as Bladen Burrows,
how far is ours? They get to keep 4 trucks on the road.
our issue is, again, the staffing piece, and we've noticed a lot of it is our part-time is not really that reliable sometimes, if you understand what I'm saying, as far as showing up. And I hate to say it with these guys, they kind of go where the biggest money, where the money is.
Talk about a cola now.
So, we rely still heavily on part-time for night shift. That is my concern. That's why I was asking to go ahead and start reclassifying these positions to try to prepare for that inevitable day when they do.
How's the class at the college? Is it turning out anybody? Are we getting them?
Well, they graduated 1 student that was paramedic curriculum, and they've got 2 that's coming out in July. All 3 of them already work for us. That's it. There's 2 more that that finish.
Ones you're trying to
Reclassify. Yeah. Then there's 2 more, but they work for other agencies in other counties. So we're hoping and praying on some more, numbers in the continuing education program when it starts in August.
That's why what Ray was talking about would be so important for what y'all do.
Right.
So, and I think the article I read was the forestry service is down monumental numbers. That was one of the groups here in North Carolina, believe it or not. I mean, for whatever reason, just down big numbers.
So how many employees are you, when you look at your total staff, that you're really understaffed?
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to staff every truck that we currently run right now, you would need 44 people total, and we've got, I think it's 36 total as far as on the road.
44 versus 36.
So that's where we're relying on part-time to fill those gaps.
And they're not reliable.
Right. And then another challenge we've got a paramedic that's out with a shoulder injury, not work-related, happened off duty, but still doesn't help the case.
Right.
She's been out already 3 weeks and probably another 3 weeks out. And then I've got a workers' comp case that's been out almost a year now. That doesn't help. That's a full-time position we can't fill that puts a hurt on the agency.
You understand by 8, probably need 10.
You can't afford it.
Where years ago, we part-time, it was very reliable. But now it's, yeah.
And they not drive a truck, shoulder injury.
Well, her doctor put her on a restriction to where no lifting, no anything. And the concern is if we put her on a truck, if she can't lift the patient, you know what I'm saying, cause the injury, here we are. So, yeah.
He called doctor, I first want to do that, well, don't do that.
So if we reclassify these individuals, that'll give you more people on the road.
That is the plan. What I did, I started consolidating the duties that the admin assistant did.
So the one on workman comp, that's just a dead spot right now.
Pretty much, yes. Been
I don't know why it takes so long.
Yeah.
Treatment, going to this doctor, that doctor, requesting another doctor, getting another request for another doctor, going back to the original doctor. No, I mean, that's, I've seen it for 27 years. That's what it is. Awful. Awful situation. Always is.
But I mean, as far as the billing revenue goes, and the billing company, I would say I'm very pleased with them. They're doing an excellent job from what I've seen.
I mean, is it holding the line? Is it making money? Is it losing money?
It costs the expenses.
I know, that's the reason I'm asking.
But the billing revenue is, it appears to be up right now.
Yeah.
But it's because they kind of started with a fresh
Slate, really.
slate, yeah.
Well, it doesn't help us inflationary costs, the ambulance.
I break it in.
60%.
80 employees, sure.
But that's why we're trying to reclass some of the stuff in that preparation for the day it does happen with the volunteer service.
Of your 36 positions, the vacancies aren't terrible, are they?
Right now, just 2. And then, of course, my 2 workers out for injuries and workers' comp.
I guess what Mr. Peterson asked you, and I'll ask you again too. A couple of years ago, we said here we were losing money.
Right.
But are we making money now? Are we come back to even? Or are we making money?
Or debt, can't keep it, you ain't got enough yet.
I'll just say it like this, I don't think EMS is really a profit, you know what I mean? It's just more, if you can break even, you're doing good. Just because of the way the insurance model is, especially with the reimbursement for Medicaid.
But my only point was, it's real easy for us to know it's losing. But we just want to know where we stand
Well,
now
Medicare-
with the improvements that we've tried to do.
Right.
Yeah. Their reimbursements for Medicare have gone down every year, and they're planned to keep going down. So this Medicare, Medicaid stuff for a provider based, if he was trying to make money himself, they're going down. I mean, that's.
So EMS is really just a citizen.
For your reimbursement.
It's just a citizen service, that's all it is. That's all it is.
You make my money, it's a service.
Like there is no inflationary recheck next year for Medicare. It's not gonna happen.
But the only reason I asked the question, you put more in it to try to get us back up. I don't have a problem putting in it if you continue to make, because you're getting it back. But it shouldn't be a problem putting in if we're getting it back and not going to.
So is the expansion gonna help us?
Is that a fair question?
Yeah, we're trying to make sure that we can maintain the service level we've got right now.
Is the expansion gonna help us?
I don't know. I haven't seen any kind of data about how it went back. I guess it would depend on how many of those 2,700 people go to.
They're probably not paying.
Yeah.
A little something would probably be better.
About their care.
Because there's a lot of unknowns
How
in
many states
Medicaid
is that?
cost reimbursement too.
Yeah, there were 11. I swear to
A
like
lot of
11 left
unknowns
when we
with
did it.
Medicaid cost reimbursement right now.
Only about 10 left, about 40.
We're just, like I said, we're trying to maintain service level.
Yeah.
Hey, this workplace safety evacuation map. We can't do that over at emergency service or GIS, tax office can't do anything? $8,500. Page 9, workplace safety. The evacuation charge. We don't have one, do we? And we do need that.
One more question, Greg, for David, if we could. David?
Yes.
By changing those positions, does that help some of your need of salary for some of those people? Does that help offset that some?
As far as you're talking about scheduling
Changing,
aspect.
when you change your position, obviously their pay increase. Am I correct?
Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah, that does help, like a part-time person.
It's supposed to give you more people to actually run the truck.
Right.
Yeah.
By taking like the admin assistant, taking that
They can get on the
job
truck.
and
Yeah.
just splitting the duties out amongst supervisors and training officer, myself, we're able to put another person on truck.
Yeah. How many job announcements you think you got out there now on the website?
I know last time I talked to her about our full-time paramedic, we hadn't had any hits on it. So, we continuously run basic and the paramedic part-time continuously. And like I said, our full-time paramedic's been up for months.
Well, you're in a bad shape.
Well, it's hard to compete, and I'll be honest to all of you, especially when next door is posting $61,000 for a paramedic coming out of school with a sign-on bonus of $5,000.
Is it Sampson County or who?
Yes, Samson.
Or we are. So Dave, I got one question real quick. Is this Columbus Transport doing anything illegal? I've been seeing them a lot in Blaine County.
That's like I was telling Greg. Thing is, and we were gonna come to you about a transportation agreement with the nursing homes. Kind of give a clear guidance. If a resident's in a facility here within Bladen County, but they have a doctor's appointment, let's say in Columbus, they can and have the right to request Columbus Transport, but Columbus Transport cannot do point-to-point transports within Bladen. That's illegal.
I knew that. I just didn't see it a lot. I know if they were trying to ease back in or.
Yeah, I think they've tried. We've had some discussions with Bladen East about it. But like I was telling Greg, it's some of the calls that I think they're getting are more your questionable type transports that are kind of borderline, whether they're
In the future, you think, the hospital will take over all the EMS like up in Fayetteville, eventually all of it?
I'm gonna refrain from that.
Well, unless we want them to.
I will say we've scrutinized the transports a right good bit just to make sure we're compliant with CMS and Medicaid. So we are very tough on that piece. And our billing company is too, which is a good thing, in case we did have a on TV audit or anything like that. But
Okay, what chart is this?
It's just showing expenditures.
Number 14, number 28.
Public safety is, the largest, and then service, education. Move on to the Blaine County Water District. That budget totals just under $3 million, and of that, debt service is $1,248,615, which is 42% of the total budget.
So Greg, this thing you passed out the other day about salaries, is Skip on there?
No, he's an A man.
Oh. Sorry, well, I just want to make sure.
Then there are a number of capital items, Water District budget.
Now, let me ask you something. What's the feeling of the board to hire assistant county manager? To help Greg and give him something to take. Kip's good, but Kip ain't got a bit of business with recreation under him. And there's several departments like that need somewhere to fall in a slot. I mean,
How's the county manager feel about that? That's a fair question.
he cares. He shouldn't care. Go get mail.
Didn't Greg get served? Wasn't Greg at one time in that kind of role?
Yeah.
And he changed roles?
Yeah.
I was just thinking about some of those jobs, some of those things marked like recreation and stuff, falling under Kip and stuff. And somewhere for, if they could report to somebody else. Not that Kip don't do a good job, it just don't make sense.
That was kind of part of the thought of when we went in that division manager deal. was
Yeah, I know when we did it,
allocating
but
certain,
there's nothing wrong with changing that if you
no,
try
I'm not
something.
saying there is. I'm sure that was kind of part of our thought.
You just made a funny face, that's why.
No, I just.
I've had a few people try to get me associates, and it didn't work out too well. I think it's a good idea. It'd have to be somebody Greg feel comfortable. I think you ought to do that. You can add that to the ordinance.
I'll take recreation. I guarantee I'll turn it around. Okay, move on. Sorry.
The solid waste fund of our budget, challenges, solid waste fund is seems to me to be the most pressing. Fair statement. You remember a couple of years ago, we increased the rate because going back to Hurricane Florence, we could see an uptick in the amount of waste that was being disposed. And then the other thing, in addition to that, what is hitting us hard is the CPI factor is no longer 1.7% or 2%. It's more like 5%, 6%. And year on year, that really does begin to add up. And so our cost for hauling the solid waste to Sampson County and disposing of that solid waste is where our big increases are.
Did we ever get the loader?
Yes.
Is it in the shop? Okay.
I know the new truck we just bought was in the shop. It had to go to Greensboro. The one we've been waiting on for so long, since we ordered it in September of 21, and we just got it, in March? It's already having, some type of issues. That they were having to send it. Yeah, it's under warranty.
So, of course, it don't affect our budget, but I think some of these fire departments might be gonna increase their, percentages here.
Actually, that's the very next thing.
I heard something about White Lake.
And it's shown on this chart.
Okay.
White Lake is so far, let me just kind of clarify that chart. The departments highlighted in yellow, we have not received their budget request. Of those others, White Lake is requesting an increase. And what's Hickory Grove, what's that thing? Okay. And then I just want to remind you that Tobermory is merging with Tar Heel, and so that one had a little note there that.
So what is that? That's what, Tugmore to go to 100%,
10.
10.
Sir. That's likely the case. We haven't received Tar Heel's budget, but that's likely. But now just to remind you, Tar Heel's rating, ISO rating is going to apply to Tobermory, so their homeowners are going to receive a big time decrease in insurance, a significant decrease in.
Do you have an update on Ammon Fire Department?
If I'm not mistaken, they've appealed.
They haven't been yet?
It hasn't been.
Oh, okay. So Greg, you might need to put some money in that budget just in case that thing, if they don't win their appeal, because we'll have to build a substation.
Yeah.
So you might want to consider putting something there just as a line item. But Bud's man said he helped us get some money on that, remember?
What means?
Sam.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I mean, that's a thought. We just move it when it happens.
And then, just in summary, I'll just kind of hit the highlights again, that the budget does include additional funding to address employee compensation and benefits. Provides additional funding for education to the tune of 2.3% for public schools and 14.7% for the community college. I do want to remind you that financial projections reflect anticipated revenue sources at or near current levels. One source of revenue that is mentioned in our budget message, but unfortunately we don't have a slide here, and that is interest income. I don't know if you noticed in the report last night Lisa gave you, we're earning 4.77%, I guess at the end of April, in cash management. That is, you remember it used to be 0.0 whatever percent. So whereas we received $12,000 or $15,000 for the year, a year or two ago, now we're receiving good money. And so that is one of our large increases in terms of year-to-year increase. And so we're very fortunate about that. The one thing, though, that you all I know hear about if you watch any kind of news about business is there's an inverted yield curve. So now short-term interest rates are higher than long-term interest rates. And that historically is a big-time sign of an oncoming recession. So my point on that is we still have to be mindful of the fact that these revenues are positive now, and I hope they'll continue to be, but things don't go up.
It is what it is. I remember when they were real high.
Yeah. Anyway, so I just wanted to, we're mindful of that. I know you are as well, but I don't know exactly what the best strategy is. So, and then I do want to remind you that the budget does appropriate available fund balance for capital expenditures and one-time items.
So what's your general fund balance at this time?
45% at the end of June.
Dollars, what is that?
20 funds.
18 or 19. It was in the high teens.
18 million.
18 million.
Yeah, I kind of get that.
So, I think, we got to get a recreation person in place and next time thought about the COLA.
How does our fund balance compare with the counties around us?
We have our percentage-wise, we're in good shape. Just remember, we're a relatively speaking, we're a smaller county, so we need.
Dollar-wise, dollar balance though, how do we look compared to?
Well, it's hard to, you kind of, the metric we should use for comparison would be percentage.
Yeah.
Because dollar value here is a lot, would be $1 million here is more than it would be in Cumberland County or Robinson, or whatever. So that's why you kind of look at percentage, knowing that smaller communities need a higher percentage. Just like a small town, they may have well over 100% fund balance, but that may not be, $1.2 million. So
Our budget is probably 4% of what you ever counted.
right, yeah, exactly. I mean, back before we had reval, 5 cents there was generating more than our 82 cents. Yeah. So, but I just want to thank all the department managers, Lisa, everyone for working hard to help get this information together, and certainly do look forward to continuing to work with you on getting this adopted budget.
Motion we make Charles Brady assistant county manager, and he followed Greg around 40 hours a week. And maybe go home with.
Greg would be here for that long. That other job.
Greg might be looking for another job.
Charles Ray's applying for that. He's applying for that job yesterday. Remember?
Oh, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Why you brought it up?
Oh,
no. I'm sorry. It's my fault. It'll be real quick. Those 15 hours on Saturday and Sunday is working 15 hours. Okay.
There you go.
Oh, you didn't try to tell me anything but that.
I said, you can't expect somebody to sit with the phone in their hand at home and not think.
It'll be working, waiting on rain.
Most to adjourn.
Second.
Adjourn second, all in favor? See you.
Be careful, Joe.